First, are the doctors' strikes right or wrong? 0207 862 2222. I'd love your thoughts. So 50,000 resident doctors pretty much will be going ahead with their strikes across England and Wales from 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And let's just have a look at if they're weighing the pros and the cons. How have they been working this one through? Because it would take a pretty cynical mind to say these doctors don't even want to be in their wards. They want to be doing their jobs. They want to be treating patients. And they don't want to be striking, we've got to assume, but they are. And so they had obviously a very big conversation with themselves about the pros and the antis, the reasons for and against. Let's have a look then at the reasons for, first of all. The big one, of course, is pay and the issue of giving them more pay and getting another rise of nearly 30%. The second one is showing power, because actually the doctors want to show that they have the elbow to do this. And the third one is their claim that they're doing it for altruistic reasons. If they strike, the NHS gets better at retaining doctors and doesn't lose them to Australia. The reasons against, as they go through this in their own minds, firstly, becoming unpopular, and they'll get the government's rockets aimed at them on this occasion. The second one is they will be conscious that people will say, fairly or unfairly, you're killing patients by striking, because some patients will need doctors and they won't get them. And the third one is that it begins to look like a habit, because they've been out last year, out next year. You know, do they end up having an annual strike? Because that might change the terms completely. So from their point of view, they've had to go back and forth on this. They've ended up striking, though, Jemma.
Yeah. OK, so I think this is going to be broadly unpopular with the public. But for my part, I do understand and have huge sympathy. There was a doctor, I saw her, and she showed a payslip from 2005, and the take-home was £2,416 after deductions. And in 2025, it was £2,514, and she had to then deduct her some of her student loan.
It's not the same. It's in the same job 20 years later. The same payslip for her.
Yeah. Basically, an equivalent.
Sounds like fake news.
An equivalent.
Look, what they're saying is, so the reason they went on strike in the first place, because it was all about pay restoration. So during austerity, their pay was just frozen so much that essentially it was like a pay cut. And I think yes, it was. Now, if you can live on £2,500 after rent, and especially if you live in London, now these people are trained, they are very important, they are making life-saving decisions on a daily basis, and their hours are long.
Tell me why you're shaking your head.
And the argument about Australia is valid. So in
okay, now hang on, let's not go into all the other. Hang on. Let's just go on this money thing. They're not paid enough, and their pay has fallen behind.
Not being paid enough, Australia, I concede that point. £2,500. You're probably on about £40,000 per annum. Yeah. No doctor with that much experience is on that unless something's gone terribly wrong, firstly. So that's probably some propaganda. Secondly, they've had a 29% pay rise last year because the new Labour government at the time felt like they could fix all the public sector problems by giving them what they want.
Looking us up, I
am, because it's not propaganda.
Which just mean you're not listening.
Which was incredibly naive. Wes and Keir Starmer thinking that we give everybody what they want in terms of public sector pay settlements and they won't come back for more. No, not true. This idea of restoration, I completely understand, but everybody in the country is in the same position where because of inflation...
They're doctors.
Yeah.
But if they go on strike, we die. That's the point. That's why this is different.
They shouldn't go on strike because...
You swerve now. You moved...
No, they shouldn't go on strike because...
I'm saying that's why they can get... Listen, whether you like it or not, they can do this.
Yeah, but the point is, last year, they had the best settlement of every single person in the public sector.
That's why they discovered striking works.
29... Well, this is the problem. If you feed the beast... They're going to come back for more.
Is that right, Jemma?
Well, where I have sympathy is with nurses who had a pretty measly pay rise by comparison. Mm-hmm. And that is my problem with this, is that it will set off a whole chain of events. And we all do know there's not very much money for anybody. Yep. Although I personally, the amount that we're going to put towards defence, there are arguments to say that unless you are defending your own country and the citizens within it and their quality of life and the health and wealth of your actual country, that perhaps the money is better off going towards paying these people properly.
We could take it out of defence and put it into health. The health service is a bottomless pit, though, right?
Yeah.
So you could literally double the budget and people would still be waiting in pain.
Because we are an ageing population.
Exactly. £179 billion, 11.5% of our GDP is what we spend on health. And that's only going to go up because we're an ageing population.
But it is also the most important thing. It literally is the most important thing.
Well,
the health of a nation.
Yes, and some of that is, yes, pay doctors, have enough doctors, but a lot of that is around prevention, to be honest.
Hang on, it might be that this whole model is completely broken. You cannot have general taxation paying a massive amount like that into a gigantic pot and then people going on strike and the whole thing falls apart.
I
You just can't
believe
do it.
if they stop the National Health Service, I do not believe that we would be taxed less.
Well, France pays less for health than we do.
Yeah. It's a broken system. And I think I agree with the health secretary on that point. The system is broken and it's going to need some really tough decisions.
It's already on the up. The waiting lists have been reduced.
Oh, which list have you been looking at?
No, they have gone down.
That's
They've gone
factual.
down.
Stop saying that everything I'm saying is not true, because that's just really out of order. And actually, still the
I didn't say it was not true. I just said which list.
No, but if
Okay,
the minute you start banning around things like fake news and propaganda, it's very triggering, because actually still the wage for a resident doctor is in the mid-30s grand. So that's not fake.
Resident, a junior doctor.
The resident doctor is the new name for a junior doctor.
But that's
the
the
same
starting
thing.
one,
Yeah, that's
right?
starting
starting
point.
one.
You should be there for 20 years.
All right.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about.
no,
We're
but
talking about resident doctors.
That whole thing didn't help. Pete in Lincolnshire, hi.
Hello, Jeremy. Good
It's
morning.
another lively one, Pete.
Yes, I understand that, but you get your guests and your people ringing in saying, yes, the doctors deserve it because they save lives. I wonder what would happen if in the middle of August, everybody from the RNLI and Mountain Rescue and everybody else said, we're not going to work. And how many people would die? Well, they're saving lives and they paid nothing. So why don't the doctors look at themselves in the face and think, hang on a minute, they save lives for nothing and we're suddenly wanting X amount of pounds an hour?
OK, that's a very good question, Pete. Jemma, if you strike over money, you're not a doctor. That's not what doctors do.
Well, I believe that doctors should be paid. I do. I believe if you go to university and study for years and have these incredible knowledge and then you do it as a profession, I don't understand this. Your job is altruistic, but therefore you've got to wear hemp and not have any money. I don't get it.
Well, they had 22% last year?
29%.
I agree there's some nuance here. I agree it's very tricky.
22 last year. They're asking for 29 this year. OK, Pete, thank you very much indeed. We hear you. Jack in Cheshire, do you think the doctors are right to strike?
No, I don't, to be honest with you, Jeremy. And the fact is, the money in the NHS needs to be spread more evenly. There's hospital cleaners who are very, very important to the NHS, of course.
Yeah.
And there's the ward staff. I mean, one young guy who was working on me when I was in hospital about 2.5 years ago, his name's Sam, and I hope he won't mind me mentioning this to you. I actually said to him, if he was my son, I'd be very proud of him. He had a really good work ethic, and he was really thorough in everything he did.
And what is he, a doctor,
And all,
did you say?
and all the staff were good.
What was his job, Sam?
He was a young male nurse.
OK, well, that's what
And he
Jemma was saying. The
really
nurses
good.
have been overlooked.
Yeah.
You're right. If the nurses don't come into work, the whole thing collapses. If the doctors don't come in...
And the paramedics as well.
Yeah. But I think what's going to happen, Jack,
in
they're going
danger
to... The manager's going to try and do it differently this time. They're going to try and do it without cancelling appointments, which is really interesting. So the bit that's going to suffer...
Let's have less managers.
Yeah, let's park that for a second because that comes up every day. The bit that's going to suffer in the strike is going to be A&E. So it may be, Jack, on the weekend, we don't get on a ladder. We don't get on a bicycle. You stay away from chainsaws.
Well, maybe everyone needs to grow up a bit and be a bit more responsible for themselves.
Well, but A&E's always going to have the kid who's fallen and knocked
Yeah.
his teeth out.
Accidents.
Well, children need to be prioritised.
Well, I think A&Es will be really on rations over the weekend. Thank you, Jack, very much indeed. So that's a shout out for the nurses there. Deirdre in Northumberland, hi.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Do you support them?
100%. I think, doctors and nurses should be paid the more above anybody else in Britain today. They should be paid the most. They do a job which, it's a vocation. They give up years of their life to train, to look after us. We do not know at any moment in time when we'll be looking into the eyes of a doctor hoping they will save our lives. And we would pay them in gold bars if that was the case.
And what about private wealth creators who pay the tax that funds the NHS? Do they
don't save lives. Doctors and nurses save your life. And there's nothing more important. Other countries benefit from it because they leave and go. And they benefit from having the best. We have the best doctors and nurses in the world. And it's very sad that they have to do this. And I'm ashamed of the government if they don't do something about it and pay them their worth.
There we go, Samuel. That's it. That's the firm word.
Doctors and nurses are very important. I totally agree with that. But where's the money going to come from? That's the challenge.
Other bits of the NHS?
When you look at the NHS, actually, they're already very efficient
Well, the
in terms
last
of their
caller
operational
said
costs.
get rid of the managers.
They're very efficient already in terms of their operational costs.
Are they?
This is pure fallacy, yeah, totally. And doctors should be paid more. Yeah, completely agree. Where's the money going to come from?
OK, thank you, Deirdre. After the break, now more calls on whether the doctor's strike is right or wrong. 0207 862 2222. Mike in Derby, right or wrong?
Definitely wrong.
Are you going to be affected, Mike?
Possibly. I spend a lot of time going in and out of hospitals, sitting in waiting rooms, and I don't sit there with my eyes closed. I'm watching what's going on. Now, there's one thing that struck me quite substantially just lately. All these hard-up doctors come waltzing in the morning through the main doors straight to a very well-known coffee shop and pick up their pre-ordered breakfast or lunches, which cost them 15, 20 quid a day. They don't need a pay rise if they're doing that. They need a vacuum flask.
Well,
there's other things.
when you say they get pre-ordered lunches, what sort of a joint is that? Is it pret-a-manger or something, is it? Or?
Yeah, they do it on. They get the phones out and order it as they cut.
On the app, yeah.
Yeah, and it's sat there waiting for them when they come in. Now, if they can afford that each day, they don't really need a pay rise, do they?
I think that we might be being a little bit judgmental there, Mike, but I take your point that I don't know whether what job you do and whether you're paid more or less than a doctor.
I'm 76 years old. I'm an ex-military man. That's where I do most of my time. But there's a lot of things wrong. The NHS is top-heavy with admin.
Is it, though? Because Samuel's had a look at this and he says it's not.
Yeah, it's pure fallacy.
It's fantasy, Mike.
Yeah.
It isn't. I'll tell you now, I can speak firsthand on this. I've sat there in the waiting room and I've watched people walk up and down the corridor at, say, 9 o'clock in the morning with a folder under their arm, and that same person is doing the same thing 2 hours later. So don't tell me that.
Well, they might be a doctor, they might be a nurse, they might be...
There's no excuse for walking around with a folder.
And the interesting thing is, they might even also be like volunteers. There's so many volunteers in hospitals that people don't realise are not on the payroll.
Mike, no.
These people actually work for the NHS. And another one, which I'll just throw into the mix, I had a cataracts operation and it didn't go true to form. I had to keep going back for 6 months and what have you. But, OK, it's got nothing to do with what I'm going to say. And the surgeon said to me, any problems, you must ring in, make an appointment and come and see me. I had problems. I rang in. I was told by the receptionist, sorry, you can't make an appointment. You have to go through an optician.
Hey?
So I said to an optician can't help me. Can't do a thing for me. So there you go. There's a load of wasted money, wasting the optician's time, wasting my time, and wasting the NHS's time in general.
Yeah, now that system's in place so we don't just access consultants directly. That's the thing, isn't it?
Although, flip side as well,
No,
Mike.
you ring up and make an appointment.
Hang on, Mike, Jemma.
quite rightly, because you've worked all your life and done a lot for the country, but you have spent a lot of time at the NHS recently and you haven't been given a bill at the end, quite rightly. If you were in America, you'd be given an itemised bill now and it'd be thousands and thousands.
Well,
and if you hadn't paid your insurance...
That's true, Mike. We don't want to be American. What rubbish?
What a load of rubbish. I paid into the system for
That's what I said.
62 years.
He has been given
That's
a
what I
bill.
said. That's literally
That's a fair
how
point,
I started.
Mike. But, yeah.
That's
okay.
I get it,
how I
I get it, I
started
get
my
it, Mike.
piece.
Thank you. Please call again, Mike.
Mike's
And of
very
course, as a
direct.
soldier, Mike couldn't go on strike, and I think that's why he feels strongly about it.
Yeah.
You can't have the army striking during a war.
But I also think as a country, we need to be more aspirational and not be upset if people can afford a coffee if they've got a job.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to take that because it might be that's your only treat of the day is a
Maybe you have
lunch.
no time because you're working long hours.
I think doctors should be able to afford a coffee.
Yeah, I
No,
agree with that.
He's talking about a £20 lunch at Pret a Manger. You've got to go some to go 20 quid.
We don't know
That's a dessert.
that they were spending 20
And also, why is he watching them going back and forth?
He's got eagle eyes. That
And how does he know that they
No, he's
work?
on it. He's
Yeah.
really on it.
Has he asked them for their, badges?
You're questioning too much today. I'm getting annoyed as well.
I have more questions.
No, you've got to just stop the questions.
Okay,
Peter
sorry.
in Kent, hello.
Hello, Jeremy. Good morning.
Well done. Yeah, hi.
Several things here. I'm an ex-soldier,
You are as well.
and I want to go on strike. But Mike has obviously got problems. Many more problems than he thinks. Obviously.
I don't know.
I don't think they should pay a student fee. We could quite easily cancel their student loan, couldn't we?
Well,
At the end of-
I mean, that's a very big move, that, because that's 100,000 at least per doctor, I would think.
Yeah.
To cancel their student
It's not the worst
loans.
idea in the world.
Yeah, as long as they work for the NHS for 5 years after they qualify.
Well, OK, so 50,000 times 1,000 is 50 million quid that'll cost.
Yeah.
It'll feel good for a couple of years. It's not a pay rise.
But I wouldn't
They'll
say
strike
5
again
years.
in 2 years' time.
Yeah, but they could stay on, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
I think you've got a good idea there. I wouldn't say 5 years. I'd say maybe 10 years of, dedicated service. None of this, making money through overtime stuff. If you do that for 10 years solid, your loan is forgiven.
Yeah, well, or you could do the other way around. You could say your
I think
loan is
for nurses.
forgiven unless you strike.
They could do the same thing for nurses as well, couldn't they?
Thanks, Peter. Joe in Leicestershire, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. It's all kicking off today. What would you like to say about the doctors?
I'm very disgusted actually. I've worked for the NHS for the last 20 years as a nurse. What I want to know is who these doctors have gone into this profession knowing exactly what the pay scales were, knowing what the hours were, knowing what they had to do to get where they are. Nobody forced them into that occupation. Okay? What I want to know is striking, who's it benefiting?
Well, them, obviously.
Who
because
is it
Well, it's benefiting the doctors. But I can answer that because they get a pay rise. That's what happened last time.
Yeah.
But
Joe-
we're just
Joe's
being
good.
held to ransom over it.
Yeah. I agree, Joe. Totally agree. They knew exactly what they're getting themselves
Absolutely.
into.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about this God complex that some of these doctors have as well. I mean, yes, they're saving lives, but they chose to go down that professional route.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Absolutely.
And you're a nurse, did you say, Joe?
I am. If they don't want to do the job, go and be a patron decorator. Go and be an electrician.
Well, then we're a bit stuck.
No. Yeah, but
I hear what you're saying, Joe, but maybe 10 years ago when they started uni, they didn't realise the cost of rent
come
and
on, of course
food
they
and
did.
everything was going to be quite
Everyone
extortionate.
else is having the same problem.
Everyone.
I personally think the nurses should
Nobody
get
realises
a
the
pay
cost.
rise.
you want to give everyone a pay rise now?
Basically, yes.
Gosh.
I'd like
We've
one.
got £3
yeah,
trillion
but
of debt, so I don't know where we're going to get the money from.
Economical. It's not viable, is it, to give everybody a pay rise? Everybody is struggling with rent.
Yep.
Everybody is struggling with the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of the day, if you didn't want to do the career, come out of it.
God,
I
Joe.
could get paid a lot more.
Can I clap for Joe?
No, well, you can
You know
clap
what,
as much as
stay
you like,
in
but we're
my-
going to go to our break. Thank you, Joe, very much for
Well said.
that. OK, we're going to go to our break, or we're going to take another call. All right, let's go to our break. Thank you.